Zoom meeting.
Sorry.
That'll be our last Zoom meeting. And I will speak with past President Murray to address our speaker as far as the change in scheduling with that. The Super Bowl fundraisers. Past President Dan, do you have a couple minutes to speak about that?
Yeah, so we did the squares. We did our Super Bowl squares again. We sold out 100 square grids, which will bring in, it brings in $2,000. We give out 50% of that, half of that to prizes, 4 prizes, one at the end of each quarter. There's a $30 fee to set up each grid. So club will realize $940 for that.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. We are going to have a comedy night, June 3rd. The location is going to be the lower field of the Hayden facility there. Past President Spencer.
Yep. So we're gonna start meeting about it and trying to do it. So it's gonna be an outdoor event underneath a tent of some sort. There won't be dinner. It'll just be probably some light appetizers, maybe dessert or something like that, and then beer and wine for a cash bar. And we'll try and do the show for probably around 2 hours, but the rough schedule will be arriving around 7, so you can go out and have dinner prior to coming to the event. Comedians will go on again roughly around 8 and then go till 10 o'clock, and then that will be the end of the event. We've not been able to do this for many years, so I'm hopeful that we can get it put together and that we can get a good crowd. We're hoping to sell 200 tickets, so you can start kind of thinking about who you might want to invite. I know Tony V is really excited about doing shows, period. So he's excited about this opportunity. And it'll be nice to kind of get back into some semblance of normal by getting together and doing the comedy night. And again, our goal is to do it as safely as possible. So it's going to be outside underneath a tent at the lower field of Hayden. With no food, just light appetizers and cash bar of beer and wine. So that'll be June 3rd is the date that we're working towards, and we'll get more details as it goes. And the board, the comedy night board, will meet hopefully in the next week or two, and we'll start getting some more details out to the club as we kind of start organizing it. Yep. Go ahead, Dan.
Jim Malloy, can I ask you, other than applying for a 1-day liquor license, I know I can do it on the portal, anything else that we should be thinking about?
I think probably just that 1-day liquor license is probably all you really need to do. You probably want to reach out to the police and fire department.
Yeah.
And let them know
Yeah.
that you're doing that.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Past President Dan and Past President Spencer. Patriots Day, we'll be going forward with Patriots Day as we usually do on April 18th, as far as having our, excuse me?
Weather permitting.
Weather, absolutely, weather permitting, yes, weather permitting, but we're looking to have a good day and push through it. Past President Dominic, I know in the past years you've been able to help facilitate that. Would you be available too? Dominic, you're on mute.
You're on your microphone, Dominic.
Know how that happened. Anyway, yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I was just thinking about that the other day because I was at my office and I found that old makeup for face painting that we can't use anymore. So I'm throwing that out because we can't do that anymore. So I was thinking of if anyone had any other thoughts of what we can do. We've given away balloons before. I think the last time we didn't do the balloons because we made it a little simpler. We gave away bracelets, pamphlets. We did have the face painting, which we can't do anymore. So another year we gave away little fidgets that I think Laura had purchased as well. So I don't know if anyone had any other ideas of what we can give away this year.
Well, we've got, we still have those hats with the flag on the front.
Right.
I got a ton of those, so we might as well just give those away. We were trying to sell them.
I have a handful of bracelets too. I think there's maybe half a bag of the rubberized bracelets.
Yeah,
I don't know if we want to do those again.
I think you gave me the flowers, the boxes of the,
I gave you the
Oh,
little boutonnieres. Yeah,
I
I gave you
have
all
those
those.
from
Yeah.
Discovery Day, so.
So
And
maybe,
we have plenty of pamphlets.
yeah, I think they're outdated now with some of the things that are in there.
No, I updated them, man.
Oh, okay. Should we go for the bracelets again, maybe?
No.
I think if we're giving out hats, that's
Yeah.
a lot.
How
Yeah.
many?
Let me,
we-
let me
yeah,
ask
yeah.
my 13-year-old daughter if there's anything cool that kids want right now. She's usually pretty good about what knickknacks are popular. So I'll see if she has any ideas.
Do we have a lot of hats? How many hats do we have?
yeah, we have a lot of hats.
Oh, okay.
We probably have 100 or so,
Mm-hmm.
at least, so,
That'll actually go very quickly.
yeah.
Good. Excellent. Dominic, thank you for that.
Yeah.
As you always do every year with that.
If you
And
want,
the final-
shortly, what I'll do is I'll put together a schedule. Are we gonna do it the way we did it before with the 3 different shifts, you think, or should we do it differently?
We do 3 shifts or 2 shifts?
I think 2 shifts should do it.
Okay.
It's not a huge thing. We only have 1 booth, so.
Oh, we're not doing 2 this year? We used to do the library and where Bertucci's is right at the alley over there. where
No,
the bank
we're gonna
is.
just do 1.
Oh, okay. Do you want to do it at the bank alley, which
We'll
is?
do it, no, do it next to Bank of America,
Yep, all right.
which I will also submit an application to the clerk's office for that,
Okay.
or the
I'll make a
manager's
note of that.
office.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm all set.
Thank you. And the last thing I had is that our meeting schedule, as far as our speaker schedule, is full up to the end of my term. So I want to thank everybody for suggestions for speakers for that. Murray isn't here, but I wanted to personally thank him for all he's done with that as far as helping facilitate the speakers and following up with the calendar on that. So at this point, whereas past President Murray isn't here, we'll move on to the speaker introduction, which I'll handle that. We are honored to have our town manager, Jim Malloy, with us today. Mr. Malloy has been the town manager since October of 2018. He came from the town of Westboro. Prior to that, he was in the town of Sturbridge. He has a master's in business public administration, from Colorado College, and a bachelor's degree in political science and government from Mesa College. So as I stated earlier, Mr. Malloy is very visible around the town. I see him quite often at chamber meetings, events at the Battle Green, Town Hall. Somebody who's always been very approachable and somebody that we feel comfortable having. He steered us through a lot of the COVID year. There's a lot of accomplishments that have happened as far as a fire station that we have now, which is quite the technology that's there now. We're in the middle of we're part of the streetscape as far as the center, the construction of the center. So a lot of projects that he has helped steer, or the captain of the ship as far as with the town. So without further ado, I'll introduce our town manager, Mr. Malloy.
Thank you, Cleve. First, I'm going to start off by saying it might be a little bit noisier than typically because about a week ago, we had a flood here in our town office building, and about half of the building, all 3 floors, was severely damaged. Luckily, I'm on the 3rd floor, but I'm not really in my office anymore. I'm now in a cubicle that is much smaller than my normal office is. I don't know what just happened to my screen. You guys just became very small. There we go. And so we're probably for the next 2 or 3 weeks, most of our staff has been completely displaced, except for the people that are in the back portion of the building where the addition was put on years ago. And it all ended up from a hose underneath the sink on the 3rd floor that came disconnected and ran over the weekend. And ceilings and everything and lighting and everything came crashing down on the middle
Oh.
floor and the lower floor. So it was a tremendous mess, and our public facility staff that have been working 7 days a week for the last almost 2 weeks cleaning it up. So we're finally, I think, getting to the point where we think we're going to have things taken care of here shortly. So that will be nice, getting back to our norm. My office is had measurable water with a ruler in it. So
Wow.
First time I thought I'd just talk just a second about what we've been doing with COVID. Obviously, like every other business operation, we went completely remote when the governor ordered us to in 2020, and worked remote for several months. Some of our staff had to come in on a regular basis. Finance staff, people who do payroll, obviously all of the public safety and public works employees, and a number of other employees had to come in to take care of, formalities that we just need to do that you can't do remotely. But we've been mostly back in the office space since last July and back open to the public. Although one of the things we did is we, like a lot of businesses, learned that we could operate with some of our staff having a remote schedule. And so we were, I think, the second community public sector organization in the state to adopt a permanent remote work schedule, where a number of our employees that have the ability to do it are able to work remotely 1 or 2 days a week. And one of the benefits we've had by doing that is that we were really running out of space here in the town office building. And what that did is it freed up a number of office areas that we've been able to move some employees around and prevent the need from us having to do an expansion, at least for the next several years. And as I said, we've had a number of employees that have had to work, and unfortunately, a number of them, not only public safety and public works staff, but also a number of our office staff have ended up testing positive over the past 2 years. We've had to deal with those workarounds and doing contact tracing so that we know who was working with who, and people are able to get tested. As you are probably aware, the Board of Health has a mask mandate in place, and it'll probably be in place for another month or two. On the positive note, in Lexington, we have about a little over 93% of residents have had 2 vaccination shots. Another 60% have also gotten the booster shot. One of the things that we've been working on over the last 4 months probably is putting together a comprehensive plan on using the American Rescue Plan Act funds and how we can do it in a way that would most benefit the community. We have had 2 meetings in which the select board have approved just a little over $2 million of the town received $9.9 million. So they've approved just over $2 million. We have until December 24th to spend the entire amount. And one of the things we want to do is make sure that whatever we're doing now, we can react to those programs and projects and do things a little differently in the second and third year that we have the ARPA funds available. One of the things that we did is we select board approved direct business grants to local businesses, and we're using our online portal for people to submit applications for that program. And I can tell you that the initial amount the select board approved was $250,000, and we went through that in about 6 days. And so one of the things we will be doing is going back to the select board pretty soon and making a recommendation that they expand that program further. We're not sure that's a program that's going to have to go into the second and third year. So we'd like to have the biggest impact now when we know that businesses are actually struggling pretty badly. And the other things we've done is we've done some housing projects and some mental health things. And one of the interesting things that we're doing that not a lot of communities are doing is we're going to be unveiling a participatory budgeting program where the select board has set aside $500,000 We're going to allow residents to submit projects or programs. It has to fit within the ARPA funds, and we're also going to rate them for how they align with the select board's goals. And then once we have a list of potential funding items, we're going to use an online system that allow residents then to vote on what they would like us to spend the money on. And so it'll give residents a direct voice in how we spend some of those funds. So then what I'd like to do is just go on to the big thing that we do every year, our annual town meeting. The select board is going to be voting on the budget this evening. About 6 weeks ago, I provided them what we refer to as the white book, which is the town manager's budget. And then tonight they will be voting on what is referred to as the brown book, which is their recommendation to town meeting. I don't really anticipate that they're going to make any changes other than some items that we're actually recommending that they make changes this evening. For town meeting, again, we have a lot of issues coming up this year, the biggest being the police station project. We will actually be discussing it this evening. If anybody's interested, the architect is coming in and we'll be doing a full, probably about a half hour to 45-minute presentation on the project. It's up to $35.5 million. The project continues to escalate, both just from normal inflation, but we're also seeing a lot of supply chain and labor chain issues that are driving the prices up. We looked at this just a few months ago and it was still around 32 million, and now it's at 35.5. There will be a debt exclusion vote that will be scheduled after the town meeting votes on the project, and it's likely to be in early June. One of the other issues, just dealing with the whole police station project, is the Hosmer House. As we're all aware, it's within the footprint of the new police station, and what we've done is we've tried two RFP processes to try to get a private contractor to move the house to a location and redevelop it into a residential housing unit. Neither one yielded positive results. In one case, we did have 2 bids, but neither one was acceptable locations to the select board. And on the second one, we didn't receive any bids. Then we looked at 300 town-owned potential sites and could not find a suitable location. And so the select board recently authorized the town staff to submit a demolition permit to the Historic Districts Commission, which we've submitted the initial application, and they're scheduling a formal hearing in early March. And then at the same time, we have a local resident has come forward and said that he may be interested in locating it to a parcel that he owns. So we'll continue to work on that, but we're also going to continue working on looking at a potential demolition. Some of the other things we've got going on at the town meeting is we've got a number of playground improvements, about $1.5 million to remove wood chips that are under a lot of the playgrounds and replace it with a safer poured-in-place surface that not only is safer, but it makes the playgrounds more accessible. We're looking at rebuilding the center bathrooms, and that's about $1 million project. We're looking at replacing hard court surfaces, both basketball and tennis courts, and that's about a $2.5 million project. The town is finally looking forward to moving forward with a project, an affordable housing project on Vine Street. It's a parcel that the town purchased about a decade ago. And LexHab is going forward with a $5.3 million project that's going to be funded by CPA funds, assuming town meeting approves it. We have a townwide bike and pedestrian plan that we're going to be working on. And then another big project we have is the Battle Green Streetscape project, which will complement the center streetscape, which is ongoing right now. This is a $5.4 million project that includes new intersections at all 3 corners of the Battle Green, including a roundabout at the Harrington, Hancock, and Bedford Street intersection. We have 2 very large a DUP, planned site development use projects. One is at 475 Bedford Street, which is proposed to be a 450,000 square foot life science building, which is would be replacing the Boston Sports Club building. And then at 99 Hayden Avenue, there's an existing large life science business there, but they're looking at doing a 236,000 square foot addition to that project. And then, like always, this is something that really surprises me about Lexington. The other communities I've worked for, I think in 30 years, I saw maybe one petitioned article. We see about 5 or 6 for every single town meeting here. So it's always adds a thrilling aspect to town meeting, and sometimes things that we don't quite have control over. And so we've got a couple of those this time. We've got one for humane pet stores that will, not that we have any pet stores, but would prohibit any puppy mills from locating in Lexington. And then we have an appropriation. We'd approved two petitioned articles, citizen articles, over the last couple of years that would require a surcharge fee on both commercial and residential development. And that surcharge would be set aside to develop affordable housing. And so there's a citizen petition this time to do a study to develop what that fee should actually be, which is maybe a little bit premature because those two previous citizen petitions require an act of the legislature, and the legislature hasn't approved those yet. So it might be a moot point. We have a zero waste resolution, and then a study at the Worthing Road Recreational Area High School property on how that usage is going to be. We've also got a working group that's already working on it. So this is a different group. And then we have a sustainable residential incentive zoning article that's a citizen's petition that would, for larger homes, would provide an incentive for them to make it a greenhouse with electric heat. At the last town meeting, we approved the town meeting approved a gas leaf blower prohibition or phase out of gas leaf blowers in town, which has been pretty controversial. You've probably seen around town, there are a number of signs that say vote no on question 1. Question 1 is a referendum. Our Town Meeting Act provides a provision that if residents are dissatisfied with any action the town meeting takes, that if they get enough signatures on a petition within 10 days of the town meeting action, they can force a referendum. So that referendum will be on March 3rd, and it will be basically asking whether or not to override the town meeting action. That, in order to override town meeting, it not only requires a majority vote in favor of doing that, but it also requires that a minimum of 20% of all registered voters in town vote. So it requires a very large number of voters to turn out. The last two things I'm going to talk about are a couple of things that the town has done to really improve our long-term financing plans. The first one was pretty simple. The town had been using about $3.5 million in 2018 when I came anyway. The town had been using about $3.5 million a year from our reserves to support the ongoing operating budget. So our budget wasn't really balanced. And then what we were doing was using debt issuances to fund a lot of our smaller capital projects. And so what we've done is over a 5-year period, we've proposed, and we're in the 4th year now, a 5-year phase out of that at $700,000 a year. And then using those one-time reserves for making those capital purchases. And then what we do is we're not paying the interest costs, so we're avoiding the interest on any of those capital items. And so this year's budget is the first year that we're actually seeing a pretty significant impact from doing this, because we're down at 1.4 million, but after this year we'll be down to 700,000. And we're buying so much more of our small capital, like fire trucks, with cash, that we're avoiding so much interest that we actually we're going to see a dip for the first time in a long time in our debt service budgets. So that's a good thing, because the other big thing we've got coming, and this was the last item I was going to talk about, is the high school project. We will know in March whether or not it's on a funding schedule for this year. We don't anticipate that it will be, but one of the big issues is we expect it to be about 350 to 400 million dollars. So it'll be the largest capital project the town has undertaken to date. And one of the things the select board has charged me with is coming up with a way to mitigate the impact on taxpayers as much as possible. And so over the past year, we developed a new financing framework that we're implementing this year, in which any of the projects that are approved as a PSDUP, or any of the new redevelopments on Hartwell Avenue, the net increase in property taxes that come from those projects are being set aside in a capital stabilization fund, specifically for the high school project. And then when the high school project actually comes about several years from now, what we'll do is we'll move that money that has been set aside for years. We'll never let it go into our operating budget, and we'll have a large sum of money then that'll be able to offset a big chunk of the debt service. Once you calculate in the portion of the high school that the state will pay for, our debt service for that will be between $15 and $20 million a year. And so by doing what we're doing is we'll be able to set aside probably $7 to $10 million a year and reduce what the debt service impact would have been by about half, it may even be more. And so when we talk about we have a 450,000 square foot building that was just approved as part of the Hartwell rezoning. It's where the Comfort Inn and Margarita's restaurant was. And then the replacement of the Boston Sports Club with another large building, and then an expansion on 99 Hayden Avenue. And there's a couple of other projects, 1050 Waltham Street, the former portion of the Belmont Country Club that is being redeveloped by National Development, and then the smaller one at 186 Bedford Street. The net increase in property taxes from all of those projects will be set aside. And so really just from those projects that I just mentioned, will probably be up around $6 or $7 million a year being set aside into this capital stabilization fund, which has two benefits. One is that over a period of years, a large sum of money will be sitting there that will help us pay down what we have to issue in debt. But then we'll also have the ability just to move it from the capital stabilization fund back into the general fund and reduce what the new impact on property taxes are once the debt service for the high school hits. And so we're referring to that as extraordinary new growth. So we'll allow all of the ordinary new growth to continue to go into the operating budget so that we can support the schools and the town operations like we need to, but we're also trying to plan long-term for the high school. So that's one of the things that's been interesting since I've been here is that it seems like the gas pedal has never been let up. And it looks like just by looking at this year's town meeting that we're keeping the pedal to the metal for another year or two, because there's lots of projects there and a lot of work that our town staff will be doing over the next couple of years to make sure that we have all of the improvements done. The center streetscape should be done by next year, and then we'll do be starting this the Battle Green streetscape project so that both of those projects are done in time for we're hoping to have them all done by 2024, so that by the 2025 anniversary of the first battle, that the center of town and the area around the Battle Green looks great. So with that, I'm happy to take any kind of questions that anyone might have about what we're doing or what we should be doing, or what we're not doing.
Any questions for Mr. Malloy?
I think Mr. Sherman does, but I think he's on mute.
Don, you're muted. Don, you're
Don, you're
muted.
muted.
Don, you're muted.
Don, you're muted.
He can't hear either. I love Zoom.
Yeah. Anybody else? If we can go, maybe we'll circle back to Don.
Jim.
I had a question. I had a question about the battle green streetscape. So like now there's sort of the, I don't know, we always call them historical walking paths, like the paths sort of around the green are just dirt. So what is it going to be as opposed to the what's it going to look like? Or
I
is that
believe,
what the project?
yeah, I believe the plan is to continue leaving those as stone dust, many of them.
Oh, okay. So what is it? What more does it entail? The battle green project, like just
Well,
generally.
it's making some of the paths more accessible to the monuments, and mostly making some major improvements to the 3 intersections, including putting a roundabout in one of them.
Oh, okay. So it's not much to do with the green itself. It's sort of surrounding it.
No, it'll be the area around the green mostly.
So Jim, I had a lot of people ask me why we took out all the bricks, gave them all away, poured nice concrete sidewalks, and then put the bricks back in.
So that's the way that brick sidewalks are now done. They're not laid in sand; they're laid on top of concrete. And there's it's a cement mix, sand mix that they also put underneath it. And the first time you get any kind of rain, it holds the bricks firmly in place. I first experienced that about time flies, about 7 or 8 years ago, when we renovated the town hall in Westboro. We did a pedestrian walking path as well as a sidewalk in front of the building with that same construction method. And 8 years later, there hasn't been any movement among any of the bricks. And so the idea there, if you walk down Mass Ave right now, the old bricks, it's pretty uneven. It's to keep a nice even walkway for years. And if you take a walk in front of the post office or in front of the town office building, you can see that it's just night and day difference between how the old bricks have been laid and the new ones are laid. And so it's just a method of doing it now that provides a better base so that the bricks don't shift with the changing weather that we get here.
Yeah. And what are the metal grates that are in the sidewalk, like out in front of the post office?
Yeah, those are for trees.
Well, those are just a
Trees.
holding
Yeah,
place for trees?
Yeah, trees will be planted in those.
Yeah. Yeah. And isn't there a petition on the warrant this year for leaf blowers?
So no, the leaf blowers were in the fall.
Oh, it's in the fall.
And then residents petitioned to have a referendum. So we'll have a referendum on potentially, because town meeting overwhelmingly approved it with over 90%. But a lot of residents have been angry about that, and the landscapers have all got banded together and really organized to work on the referendum. So see how that turns out.
That's going to be a vote in March?
Yes, March 3rd.
Yeah.
It's democracy.
Yeah.
It's not
It
always
is.
pretty, but it works.
Yep.
Yeah, there's been mailings that have gone out to the different homes. I received a mailing regarding, informative mailing regarding that.
So we'll see how many people show up. It'll be interesting. Most towns don't have that kind of a provision in their charter or special act, but Lexington does have a provision, and I guess it's been invoked before too. So it'll be interesting to see how it works out.
Yeah.
Anybody else further?
I'm good, how are you?
Don Sherman, can you come off of mute? He's still on mute. Don, you're on mute.
I suspect he's talking to someone else.
It looks like he's talking to someone else, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I chatted, just mentioned it on chat, and so
So
asked him to come off mute a number of times, so he's talking to somebody else.
Talking to somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's, we've covered everybody. Mr. Malloy, Jim, thank you so much for taking the
Yeah.
time. I know your busy schedule. I did hear about the unfortunate floods at the town hall there. And it's quite a mess. It's incurred, but
Got to go back to bailing.
Yeah, oh, it was really shocking. I came in on Sunday and there was still standing water everywhere.
Water is the worst. Water is the worst.
And it happened during that big snowstorm, is when it happened. And so when it first happened, I thought we had a frozen pipe somewhere, but it turned out it was the fitting underneath the sink became disconnected and the water just ran.
wow.
So check those fittings in your building,
Yeah.
Yes.
in your home. You never know when they might come undone.
Right.
We're actually, because of this, we're going through every single one of our buildings and checking and replacing fittings under sinks.
You gotta, you should probably put those valves in that they have for washing
Yeah.
machine.
Well, one of the things we're doing right now, and anybody who's a resident is going to benefit from this, is we're putting in automated water meters. And you can set it up so that it'll send you a text message or an email if you have higher than normal water use. And so you would know very quickly. And you know what, I've already talked to our public facilities department. If we had done our town buildings first, they would have gotten an alert, because you can set it up for when the office is closed, that there should be almost no water use. And when you've got hundreds of gallons going through, they would have gotten an alarm just like any other alarm that we have, and they would have known before, pretty early.
Yeah.
Yes, the mailings have gone out as far as the new meters to the resident. I believe I got it over the weekend to schedule an appointment for my water meters with that.
It's pretty neat. I've got mine set up. So whenever there's high water usage in our house, I get a text message
Wow.
where I live. So it's pretty neat to know that, that if it's outside of the normal, like I've got a filter that backwashes, and that's the only time I get a warning. But if it's outside of the filter backwashing, I know that I've got some kind of a leak somewhere.
Wow. It's something.
Yeah.
It's always something.
So
As you said, Jim, you kind of hit the road running when you came to Lexington, and it's been a pleasure seeing you around town and
thanks.
projects that we've worked on, and seeing you, just saying hello at the green at different times. And I want to thank you again, on behalf of all of us here at Rotary, for taking the time. On behalf of, generally what we do is we have a plaque for you that we present in person. We will get that plaque to you, but in
One second.
appreciation for your presentation to the Rotary
One
Club of Lexington, the Rotary Club will be making a donation to Rotary International for our national pledge to end polio campaign. We were eradicating 20 children against
40.
polio.
40.
That's great. Thank
40,
you.
excuse me, 40, yes. And our Sergeant at Arms, Alan, will be delivering the plaque actually to your office there at some point for you. But again, thank you so much for
All right.
coming.
There it is.
Thank you. There it is.
Excellent.
There it is.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Okay, as we close out, I just want to remind everybody that February 28th is our next meeting, not the 21st, but the 28th. And then we'll be going back to live meetings in March, but February 28th is via the Zoom platform. Dan, do you have anything for us, Dan Eklund? Anything for us?
Dan Ellard,
Allard?
he's muted.
He's muted.
No, nothing to add right now.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for,
I guess, if you want, I can nag you slightly. Have you sent in your new officers to the district and to RI?
I believe
Yes, we have.
Yes. we
Yeah.
have-
Okay,
Secretary Frank Smith did that.
good, excellent. Then that's all the nagging I have.
That's very good. Very good.
You don't need to nag the Rotary Club of Lexington.
No.
I know.
We're nag free.
Yeah,
Nag free, yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So on behalf of that, with that, we will adjourn for the day. Don't have the bell, but thank you very much for attending. Meeting
Thank
is
you.
adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.